And welcome to the Hanson Select Board meeting of Tuesday, September 24th. This meeting is being recorded by Whitman Hanson Community Access Television. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. At the risk of repeating myself, we have a jam-packed agenda.
Yes.
But before we get to that, Mr. Hill, may I prevail upon you to read the public announcements and upcoming meetings?
Yes, we are looking for citizens at large to become members of the following committees: the Bylaw Committee, Cable and Internet Committee, Cultural Council, Economic Development Committee, Energy Committee, Historical Commission, Recreational Committee, Memorial Day and Patriotic Observance Committee, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Volunteer applications may be found at the town website, www.hanson-mass.gov, or by calling the Select Board's office at 781-293-2131. The presidential election will be held on November 5th, 2024, at the Hanson Middle School from 7 a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. Early voting hours will be held at the Hanson Town Hall as follows: Saturday, October 19th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday, October 21st, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, October 22nd, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Wednesday, October 23rd, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thursday, October 24th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Friday, October 25th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And Saturday, October 26th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the following week, Monday, October 28th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday, October 29th, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday, October 30th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday, October 31st, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And Friday, November 1st, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. There will be a voter registration session held on Saturday, October 26th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Town Hall. This will be the last day to register to vote for the November 5th state presidential election. Any citizen may register to vote at the town clerk's office during regular business hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to 5 p.m. and Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mail-in registrations or online at www.sec.state.ma.us. Any resident citizen who will be 18 years of age by November 5th, 2024 is eligible to register to vote by October 26th of 2024. For seniors needing a ride to the October special town meeting, Bob the van driver will be available. Please contact the senior center by October 3rd to reserve a space. And then upcoming meetings there is a special town meeting October 7th, 2024. And then there is a select board meeting October 15th, 2024, and October 29th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. And also, there is a special voter registration. Ms. Sloan, it's September 27th. Beth, the special voter registration for town meeting is this Friday, and what are the hours?
9 to 5.
9 a.m. to 5, no, it wasn't in there, that's why I couldn't read it. And this is something that we do every year.
And where is it?
And it is at the town clerk's
At the town
office.
clerk's office,
Yep.
okay.
Okay, great. So that brings us to October special town meeting preview. Ms. Green, I assume that Mr. Keeley is we're going to sort of have the same protocol that we've had in the past, which is that Mr. Keeley is going to be the one making all the motions.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So we'll just go through. We already went through last week to go through what our recommendations were versus what FinCom's recommendations were. And for the most part, there's alignment. There's a couple of, I would say, not unexpected differences on a few articles. So Article 1, these are prior fiscal years. Both voting to recommend, because we need to pay our bills or we won't be in business. Article 2, we broke down into separate articles. It was a bunch of line items, and we didn't think that that necessarily was going to be responsive to the way people might want to vote these articles. So we've got Article 2A, which is using free cash to restore the highway hours. And just as a note, Highway Union is the union that the transfer station employees are in. So I think there was a bit of hubbub about what that would achieve and why we were restoring highway hours, but you may not have known that the transfer station personnel are in the highway union. So that would in fact restore those hours, and what the Board of Health decides to do once those hours are restored is up to them, but presumably, perhaps Sundays would be back on the table. But again, that is a Board of Health decision, what to do once those hours are restored. And then restoring the admin union hours. And again, FinCom voted not to recommend, essentially because it's the use of free cash. It's the same discussion that we had at town meeting about why not to fund them at town meeting. But again, this is in response to discussions that we've had with the union and some feedback that we've gotten from folks that are not happy with the cut at the transfer station. So it's there for voters to make a decision about. We've got 2B, which is a vacation buyback provision. Right now, the union contracts allow for buyback. That's been agreed upon with the unions. And what this is this is setting aside money preemptively so that when those buybacks happen, we don't have a little fiscal crisis. This was suggested by our town accountant. And I think we've got, again, FinCom didn't recommend that, and we've got the select board recommending it. Okay.
Refer to town meeting.
Refer to town meeting, yeah, thank you, I'm sorry. And we also referred the other one to town meeting. Thank you, Mr. Hill. And then see if the town will, blah, 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 and that's stipend, again, refer to town meeting for us, and then 3-1 no for the FinCom. And then we've got the education stipend. Again, that was not recommended by FinCom and refer to town meeting by the select board. Any questions, comments?
Can I?
Yes.
Just the state confirming when he's listening at home. So it's not a separate article, but the moderator, so Sean, I don't think he's here,
No.
but he can move them separately.
Correct.
So in the information warrant, we've separated them.
Correct.
For ease of following along.
Yeah.
But it's the same article.
Yes, but we just wanted to be able to parse it out so that if I feel a certain kind of way about one part of the article, we haven't unwittingly kind of stitched them all together, and I'm sort of going, well, what do I do? I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. So, you know, I don't know that it's a perfect solution, but it was a better solution than what we had, so.
No, that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fedorov. And then we've got various town school stabilization and water expenditures. And again, that was recommended by both FinCom and the Select Board. Yes,
So there's actually gonna be one of these 5 line items that's gonna be amended on the board, that's the boiler replacement. When they submitted the capital improvement form, they did not calculate, they calculated a split, but there's no split in that since it's Hanson middle, Hanson has to bring the whole half of that. So, that's gonna be also taken out of the school stabilization fund, and we, I understand there, yeah, ample amount of money in there for that.
Yeah.
But we have enough money to cover that.
Like, how much extra?
It'll be about $20,000.
Yeah, there's 50,000 now left, so yeah, that's money.
so we're going to allow an increase on the floor of that item?
I'm not sure.
I'm just at, the two people that I need to ask
Yeah,
are,
They're
huddling.
trying to figure out.
Yeah.
I think they're throwing about that.
Modify capital improvement article 4.
So are we able to have them increase that on the fly, Kate and Eric?
Pardon?
Are we able to have them increase that on the floor?
You can, yeah, sure. If there's sufficient money and people voted yes, it would be a motion to amend.
So I assume, Mr. Kinshirf, that we'll begin the meeting with providing Mr. Keeley with the, amounts in each of the respective accounts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yep.
All right.
I mean, provided it's within the scope, which is Sean's home not mine, but yes.
Yes, okay.
The warrant, the informational warrants have not been printed, correct?
That's right, but were these figures printed in the warrant?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can always move it if, however you want it, if you want to move it correctly with the appropriate figure, and then you can notify Sean, and Sean can let the body know that this is a little bit different than the posted warrant.
Well, Sean's making the motions.
Oh, yes.
So, but somebody's going to need to alert him and provide him with the right dollar amount.
So you can move it correctly, so you don't have to go through the hullabaloo with a motion to amend if you do it correctly.
Okay. All right, so, Mr. Melissy, I'll look to you to work with Mr. Kinshirf to get Mr. Keeley the proper dollar amount?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Also let Lynn and Beth know as well, please, Stephen.
Yep.
I also,
We're saying we're trying not to get the out
okay, so if he moves it with the proper amount, there's
Yeah.
no amendment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Because then the main motion is correct, and provided Sean thinks the motion is within the scope of the warrant article, which I'm sure he will, then it's not a big change.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right, glad we worked that out. And then Article 4, the wage and personnel, and this was primarily, IT director is the primary change here. And everybody, voted to recommend that. We know how critical an IT position is. And Article 5, see if the town will, oh, this is, yeah, the treasurer collector had recommended this. So everybody voted to recommend. Article 6, this was proposed by the Board of Assessors, requires that valuations be certified every 5 years. This will cover a 3-year contract for interim 2026, 2027, and 2028. So we voted to recommend because the Board of Assessors is responsible for that, and they've suggested it. See if Article 7, see if the town will transfer $12,900 from free cash to make repairs to Town Hall. The roof is leaking, it needs to be repaired. Not a lot of negotiation or pushback that we could have on that, so everybody agreed, and voted to recommend. Article 8, $91,000 from free cash to purchase a small generator to be shared with the library and council on edging. We've talked about this over and over again. If we want to be resilient, and we want to prepare for, heat waves and, cold waves and everything in between, loss of power, all of that, that would be a logical place to have it. So, I think everybody was in agreement and voted, to recommend that. It's a relatively small dollar amount for a large peace of mind. And then UPS, a station battery backup at the fire station. Does it say that?
Police.
Police station, yeah. For $26,750. Everybody voted to recommend that. Again, we want to make sure we're getting prepared for worst-case scenarios. Article 10, HVAC for the fire, $9,360. Everybody voted to recommend. Article 11, $40,000 from Community Preservation Open Space Reserve. And that was, yeah. So anyway, it's for the Hanson Open Space and Recreation Plan, and everybody voted to recommend. That's something that we need to have in place. It opens up all kinds of, well, we're required to have it in place, but it also opens up potential grant opportunities for us. Article 12, this is the battery storage, electric battery storage, which the planning board had, yes, Mr. DeFrey.
Just like that, have clarification on this
Yep.
There seems to be some confusion. The bylaw had originally been approved at the 2023 Gay Town meeting. It went to the Attorney General's office, who reviewed it. At the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
They denied it in its entirety for two particular reasons. And so they kicked it back to us. So the bylaw has been edited and revamped with help of the town council to address those two issues. So this is a bylaw that has already been approved once by the town residents at town meeting. And it's just being revised to address the Attorney General's issues.
Okay. And do we say that in our explanation?
Yeah, if you look at the explanation.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll probably talk to Mr. Keeley and suggest that he'd lead with this, so that, we don't have a lot of controversy, since it had already passed. But, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think the explanation,
Yeah.
it's all in the explanation, so that folks don't get confused that this is something new.
Okay, thanks, that's super helpful. Okay, so, Finance Committee voted to refer to town meeting, and the Select Board voted to recommend. That brings us to Article 13, and that's, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $955 from Community Preservation Housing Reserve for a 10% grant match being provided by Mass Housing to review town-owned property on Phillip Street. So the grant is $9,550. There needs to be a 10% match, and Community Preservation voted to award that money from Community Preservation in the amount of $955, and everybody voted to recommend. Article 14, this was a list of properties that were received from the Conservation Commission indicating that there were some disconnects historically, dating quite a ways back, on the recordings for these properties. And because they are protected under Article 97, under conservation, and the state law requires that these properties be put into the care and custody of the Conservation Commission, because town meeting already voted to have these properties in conservation. This is a housekeeping article, if you will. The FinCom voted not to recommend it. They had indicated that they thought somebody should be held accountable. They didn't know how much money it would cost. In terms of the money, I think, Lisa, you were going to look into that for us.
So basically, there's a couple pieces to this. To just record votes, town meeting votes, for the properties. Basically, it's gonna cost just under $3,000. However, there's research required to find the source deed, that have the property descriptions, which are gonna require title research. I don't have the figure on that yet. Town council, Associate Town Council was going to look into, getting some figures from title researchers.
Okay,
So
yes,
that's going to be.
Ms. Federoff.
So we recommend you just simply record the town meeting votes, because the whole purpose is to put potential property purchasers on notice of the fact that this is Article 97 property, it's protected. To dispose of that property would be a huge undertaking, right? And so we recommend just recording the town meeting votes, because then it's on the record. Frank believes that you need something more, and if it's requiring extensive title search, that could be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. We don't feel it's necessary, and we'll have that discussion further with Frank, but that would be a lot of money, because a lot of these properties historically were passed down perhaps through wills, and then it wasn't recorded in the chain of title, and you
Yes.
have to go back.
I'm getting shades of the sleeper property deja vu thing, yes, okay.
Exactly. So I think
And
that's
times
the first, and I'll have that discussion
many.
with Frank further.
Okay, so, I think we've got town council very strongly, suggesting,
Can I ask
that,
you a question really quick?
Yep.
So if we take a vote on this and it gets passed at town meeting,
is there any scenario in which we're forced into trying to do something that's gonna cost us thousands and thousands of dollars?
No. So, I mean, what Frank's concern was is there was apparently a piece of property that was given to the Conservation Commission some years back, and somehow it got sold by the town, and so then it was no longer protected. How that all happened is, again, historic. So what we want to ensure is that it's documented that these properties are actually protected, and I think that's sufficient. I really don't foresee a scenario. If there was a problem with the title, meaning you don't own the property from before, that doesn't change as a result of this article.
Okay.
Okay, however, I think if you could indulge us by looking at this article, and I would ask, does it require more of us? The article itself. It appears to be worded such that it is more than just a recording of the town meeting vote.
This
The way that this is written.
simply puts the properties in the care, custody, and control of conservation.
So you feel comfortable this doesn't require us to do a deeper dive and go that extra?
In my estimation, no.
No, I'm saying the way the article's written right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it just puts it in the care, custody, and control
Okay.
of Concom, which gives it 97 protection anyway.
Okay.
And then if we record it, then everyone's on notice.
okay.
I mean, $3,000 you'll have to come up with, but that can come through the legal budget.
No, we can, I don't think we had concerns about 3,000. We had concerns if we're looking at like some exponential expansion of, and I think I was thinking, geez, if we've got a bunch of sleeper properties and you've got people who have died and we don't know if they've got wills, and then, you've got some of these historic pieces of property.
And the distinction in that one was we were actually acquiring the property. Here we already own the property.
Yep.
And simply transferring from theoretically general purpose to conservation.
Okay, does everybody feel better about that? I do.
Yep.
Do you? Fine with it. Okay, all right, good. All right, so, so we voted to recommend, and I don't know, Erin, if you guys want to go back between now and town meeting. I don't even know if you guys are meeting again. And, okay, well, you're probably gonna post before town meeting. So you may, and again, you might not change your mind. You may still vote to say no, even though it's just gonna be 3,000 for all of these. But I would submit that it might be worth it for you guys to take another look, now that you've got more of the facts. Now that we've got more of, okay. Yeah, okay, awesome, thanks. Article 15, 23,000 to replenish the conservation fund. Everybody voted to recommend that. Article 16, this was the easement, so that we've got that at the old, fire station. And everybody voted to recommend that, because it's in our best interest.
And that one is a 2/3, by the way.
Okay, and so, do we say that in there?
Yeah, you're supposed to say so.
So we'll need to just alert Mr., that makes sense, because it is, it's an it's a land, thing, but we'll just need to alert, Mr. Keeley. Ms. Green, can we just make a note?
I can update the motion to say that.
Okay, that would be great, thank you. Article 17, this was the purchase of the Hubble, property, where from, using community preservation, money, 72,800 from open space. And because there wasn't adequate, money for the remainder, 62,200 from undesignated community preservation fund for a total of 135. We had voted to recommend it. FinCom had voted not to recommend it. They felt there might be other projects that might come, the way of community preservation. Typically, when community preservation makes decisions, they do have, they always have a list of the priorities and the projects that they know that they're going to have come before them. So I'm assuming that this made it to the top, and that's why they voted yes, but, FinCom is certainly entitled to their vote. This requires a 2/3 majority vote.
This one's a simple, actually, because it's CPC.
Okay.
I might have switched them.
Yeah,
Changing my
I
notes.
think probably, it was done.
Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's because it's CPC.
Okay. Article 18, and this is various ARPA expenditures, and everybody voted to recommend food pantry, catch basins, and an ambulance. We've just got a plethora of various needs that will be filled. And we're pretty much at the end of, I think, our ARPA expenditures, so that should be interesting. Article 19, we've got the South Shore Technical High School assessment. We've got Superintendent Hickey here, and I don't know if you wanted to say anything, or, okay. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and,
Because you were going over it tonight, in case there are any questions.
yeah, I don't, did anybody have any questions for Superintendent Hickey? I'm happy you're gonna be at Hanson Day in case people have got some questions, about it, then they can just have, like, you're Johnny on the spot. People can just ask you right there, whatever their burning South Shore vocational technical questions are.
Is this document in this form gonna be in the warrant?
Yes, I think, is this marked up document in the warrant?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it just is to demonstrate what the changes are, so if
No, that's
anybody's got
good.
any
I like that.
questions.
It's just harder to read, but I'll bring my
Where's your
magnifying
magnifying glass that you always come with? He literally does have a magnifying glass, I'm not even making, this is how you know you might be all getting a little bit older, when you're sharing magnifying glasses. Okay, did anybody have any questions? Everybody voted to recommend that, so, I think we're good on that. And I think the information in the handout will be very helpful if people, got detailed questions about what the changes are that are being made. That brings us to Article 20. Free cash, to restore the, conservation agent to full-time. I am hoping, that we will have folks from the Conservation Commission there to make that case. What I'm not anticipating is that Mr. Skellinger and Mr. Amato are gonna be left, on their own, swinging in the breeze at town meeting to make a case for restoring their own hours. It's not a good look. We were asked by both Conservation and the Board of Health to place these articles, so I'm hoping that they also are going to be coming to town meeting and making that case for the restoration of the hours, and then the voters will decide. And the Select Board voted to refer to town meeting, and FinCom voted not to recommend. And again, this, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Aaron, but it was essentially the use of free cash and, Yep, yep. And then similarly, Board of Health, to restore the health agent, I'm hoping those folks come and make the case. And we voted to refer to town meeting, and, FinCom voted not to recommend. Yes.
So, do you have a dollar amount for this? What did you want help with that, a dollar amount?
There is gonna be a dollar amount in the informational, warrant.
There should be in the motion.
They
Yeah.
are in the motion, I did not put it in the informational warrant. I wasn't
So
sure.
it's 16,887 for the conservation agent, and then it's 18,925.70.
Yeah, I was,
No, you're just saying people can't make a decision without a dollar amount, yeah.
know what
Yeah.
it is without a dollar amount.
Fair enough, Mr. Malisi, good point. So we need to get that again to Mr. Keeley. And then we've got Article 22, which is the repeal, the very recently adopted, ban on the sale of miniature single-use containers, for alcoholic beverages. And, we all voted to refer to town meeting. It's a citizen's petition, so let the citizens decide. And then Article 23, it's regarding H 4885 to basically express on behalf of the town, that, the town is opposed to the overreach by the state. In this, I'm nutshelling this, I'm not reading it verbatim, but, and again, that's a citizen's petition, so we all voted to refer it to town meeting. Was there anything you wanted to say about that, or? Okay.
Anybody has questions about
Okay.
it? So like what you said before, it's not on the article, so.
And as I've mentioned to you before, if it does pass at town meeting, I don't know that the letter will be verbatim what you've said here, but I do think what we would do is say, town meeting voted, on this article, this is what the article said, we're letting you know that they voted in the affirmative for this article, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, but, I know we've talked about it, but I just want to make sure that, yeah. Well, we will get we'll get the flavor of what you're trying to do. May not be verbatim, but we'll get the idea through. And then I think, that's all we had. Did you guys have anything that we missed or anything you wanted to mention? Any concerns from you guys, Kate or Aaron or Eric?
No.
Okay, it's seemingly uncontroversial, which I've now just called the universe in on us.
That's right, I would knock on wood.
Well, you did, because you didn't look left before you went there.
Oh, God.
So, Eric, just for my own sake, it doesn't have to be right now because I'm putting you on the spot, but one of the things that I'm very much against is balancing the budget using free cash. And a lot of the stuff that we decided to defer as a select board to town meeting was things that are going to balance the budget using free cash, which is a huge difference between using free cash to fund capital items and things along those lines. So what I'm afraid of is that the budget's gonna get away from us, especially given that in May, where we're supposed to be doing budget-related things, it's going to put us deeper and deeper in the hole without anybody realizing it. So my question to you is, all of these budget balancing types of things that are gonna hold us to salaries, benefits, and all these other things that the town voted in May as a group to not fund, how much of that is actually going to put us in a hole in terms of free cash? What's the total amount of, basically, the number of stuff that we deferred as a select board to town meeting? Because it might be 16 here to fund something, it might be 2,000 here, but total, it's like $100,000.
Right, okay, so, Lisa and I sat down and we did a brief overview of what we're gonna need in FY '26 to fund the budget without free cash.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be 2 million short, okay? So, basically, at the end of this town meeting, all the articles passed,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna have like $2.3, $2.4 million left. So it's a policy decision. Ideally, we'd have an extra $2 million in revenue, like if we were an override or something. We would be in a nice position, have like $2.4 million in untapped free cash, you can use for capital or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a position that you could be in. But with having this free cash available to you in May will allow you a little bit of another one-stop emergency Band-Aid, which is just, you notice like last year, as I've been here, we got 400,000 last year for free cash. I mean, the year before that I got here was $1 million, the next year is $2 million. So you see where we're going with this. So, in my opinion on the like some of the restorations of the hours, they're so small and the cost benefit, like from morale reasons and like reduction of hours. I mean, just for instance, when the hours were reduced, they were recommended like targeted hours because the idea was let's look at operations. But it didn't work out that way because the unions have a right to collective bargaining. So now it's like every person in the union is going to be reduced 1 hour to make up for the money. That's administrative, not even worth it. And I think to keep the morale high, I think that particular budget's like 13,000, and we still want it's a decision on your part, like structurally. Ideally, you wouldn't use any, but you do what you have to do. Like if your kids have to eat, you might take some money out of the savings account and say, hey, I'm not going to touch that savings account and stop, or whatever. That's the position that you're in right now.
Yeah, no, I think just from a nuts and bolts perspective, I think what would help is, because it's not typical to do a budget reforecasting for salaries and things like that 6 months into the budget related to what we're doing now. What I'm afraid of is we're gonna dig ourselves into a deeper hole, and I mentioned this last time, I don't want to get into a habit in which we're funding a bunch of things and then cutting them the very next time, and then funding them again, then cutting them, because I feel like morale-wise, what's worse than having your hours cut and then given back to you, and then cut and then given
Yeah.
back to you? I don't think it's the right way to handle it.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it's that critical mass theory, you know, so if all these were deferred and they weren't baked into the budget, you might be talking, like you said, like 100,000. So if you took 100,000 free cash and just got you through this year, but that 100,000 is not gonna do too much next year. If you hold line, you already have another 100,000, we'll still need another 1.9 million for free cash.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so I'm just telling you how the numbers work.
Yeah.
It's kind of your decision, what kind of tone you want to set for the town based upon the money and resources that you have.
Yeah,
But
'cause I think we need to start-
You want to, you know, you don't want to use free cash for operating budget, but you've done it. And,
Yeah.
I don't, in my opinion, like, it doesn't seem an appetite to say, hey, we're not going to use any free cash, we're going to have layoffs now. Because we want
Well, I don't think
to be
that's-
so financially disciplined that we don't want to use any. So you guys have to make value judgments.
Yeah. I guess, this will be really telling to figure out if we're gonna be funding more capital projects, especially if an override doesn't get put on the docket and voted in, so. I just, it's not, I'm saying it because I feel like it has to be said. So I feel like on the one side of the sentence, we're talking about how we don't have any money and we're looking at a cliff, and the second time we're like, oh, well, we found some extra money, here it is.
We haven't said we found extra money. We've said that we're taking another look at the money we have, and given the fallout from town meeting, we're saying that a judicious amount of money, $100,000, which is not material in the grand scheme of what we're looking at overall, could make a huge difference in the services we're able to give and in the morale of the staff that we have here. And the voters will ultimately decide if that's the case or not.
Well, I'm a little surprised at the amount of free cash, thrilled with it. I don't see really the problem with spending that small amount to restore services. I think that services are something that we really have to consider more important than capital projects.
Yeah, that's my point.
We have to consider, I mean, we've got people that were playing with their jobs, their livelihoods, and also town services, and I think that we have to focus on that, and it'd be nice, I mean, we're running out of the ARPA money's going away.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to, be very conservative about what capital improvements we think we can get into. I don't wanna see people's jobs and services cut. I don't like any of that.
Yes, Mr. Kitcher.
Just for perspective.
Yeah.
Some of the things that were cut at town meeting or reduced, they're not put back in the budget. And it's supposed to be like, the senior equipment heavy operators, so that's $59,000. That's not gonna be put back in. The veteran agent, we kinda like that, we moved from part-time, from full-time to part-time. That's a structural thing that
Right.
happened.
I do want to emphasize, he wanted to be put part-time. I want to make sure that's clear. Yes.
He did.
Then, this town meeting, the part-time, the fund for the part-time IT position, which was $35,000, that was structurally limited. That's not being put back here, so there was some structural cuts that aren't gonna be funded at this town meeting.
So and it's all fine. My point is, and I do not want it to get lost in this idea of people not wanting to lose their jobs, and somehow that's not the conversation. What I'm saying is, I do not want to fund these just to have them cut again in May.
Yep.
So if we're going to do it, I want to make sure we're doing it for the right reasons, not because people are asking us.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no guarantee that they're not gonna be cut in May.
That's my point. So we can say all the words, but I need to know where we are.
Right, so the choice
Yes.
is, yes, the choice on your, from my point of view is like, you wanna take a little bit of free cash and be sure the hours just for this year with no guarantee what's gonna happen in May, because there is no guarantee that's what's gonna happen in May, but you can make a decision for this year if you wanted to.
And for this year, meaning just the remainder of the last 6 months, right? So, I mean, that's a huge thing, and because for me, a morale killer is bringing people on just to disappoint them, to bring them on again just to disappoint them. I really want to go into the next fiscal year with a solid idea that this is what we can have, so people can actually plan for their lives.
Yep.
And
So my thing is, if you don't have an override this year, you got two choices. You can use every penny of free cash, $2 million, empty at all the accounts and bring them down to zero, or you're gonna need layoffs.
Yeah, and I appreciate you speaking bluntly like that. I'm not saying any of this to like scare anybody or like whatever. It really is just about saving jobs. And I don't want to come at it from this like pie in the sky place of like, well, no kidding, we want to fund everything and do everything. I really am against laying people off right after bringing them on. We fought so hard, and you were there for this, to get all these hours and get all these benefits and bring all these services in, literally just to have them cut. And I do not want that to happen again. So I really appreciate you taking like a very direct stance on this and giving us some guidance on it, because I do not want people's lives to be played with. So thank you.
Ms. Capardo?
Back in the spring, there was a lot of conversation at the few meetings I was able to attend to, and Eric spoke in not using free cash. I can't remember the amount, I think it was 800, 900,000.
Yeah.
Because it affects our credit rating, our bond rating. Now granted, nobody wants to lose their job, and I know how it brings morale down, because I've worked in those positions before. But we already know we're talking about a $5 million override.
No, we're not talking about a $5 million override. I don't know why people keep saying $5 million. So our consultant came and made several suggestions, one of which was the most draconian and dramatic thing that we could possibly do would be right up front to do a $5 million override. And for some reason, everybody has glommed on to the most dramatic draconian suggestion that he made. He also said you could, and he was saying, like, if you want to not ever have to go back for the next 5 to 10 years for any kind of an override, then you'd be looking at a $5 million override. We're not going to do that. Nobody here on the board ever even entertained an upfront $5 million override. We know what we're up against here. So we're looking more, I don't know the dollar amount, but more in the 1.5 to like that type, but not a $5 million override. So I thank you for bringing it up, because I've seen this bantered about.
Yeah.
Well, there's
The point isn't
one
lost, though.
particular individual who keeps saying the
Yeah.
5 million.
But the point isn't lost, because you're talking about an override just in
Yeah,
general.
it is an override, yeah.
But now, so how much will our we take care of funding these different things in October. How much do we have left in free cash?
Well, if everything passes at town meeting, let's see, you'll have roughly, let's see.
You said $2.4 million.
$2.4 million if everything passes. And the reason that you have so much free cash this year is because the town was disciplined last year by not appropriating free cash. There's 671,000 unappropriated last year. That's why it's 2.7, not 2.1, because you kind of deferred. Let's see where we're at. Let's not spend any. So that's one of the reasons why it's so high.
Yep. So, okay, are you all set? Okay, Mr. Molisi.
I just want to stress the importance, Joe can attest to this as well, Ed is, about the capital improvement. It's
Yeah.
super important that this town has investment in their capital, whether it's a sander for the roads, whether it's a fire. We have a lot of capital that's coming up in the next decade. There is the fire station, there's the highway building, there's the High Street Park, from the community reservation. But we made over the past probably 4 years good strides in getting us allocated cash, free cash to invest in those capital items that we need. We're in a pretty good place right now. So I just don't want people to think that capital items should just be thrown to the wind, because if you don't have a sander in the middle of winter time, you need your streets plowed. That's a pretty big deal. That's also a dangerous situation. So.
Yep. Totally. Okay. Mr. Kintroff, yes.
Since we're talking about big picture stuff, I have to mention this as well. So, structurally balanced budget, say like $2 million, whatever, but there's an important decision that the town as a whole has to make. Again, I'm glad Mr. He's here, so I'm glad, because we've talked before, there's going to be a vote whether to build a new South Shore Regional Vocational Technical High School. So I think the idea was to put it as a debt exclusion, so we'd have the money for it. But if it doesn't pass with the debt exclusion, and it passes, the debt service on that, we talked about like 1.2 million a year, so that'd be 1.2 million in expenses that we don't have the money for.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Any other good news you want to share with us?
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. We appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for the town meeting preview. And Rob, we're going to take a brief recess so that those who just we're here for that piece, can leave and,
Set up for the next one.
all right, and welcome back to the Hanson Select Board meeting of Tuesday, September 24th. Next up on our agenda is the High Street Park Committee update. And with us is Tony DeFrayis, our town planner, and Mr. Don Ellis, who is a member of the High Street Park Committee, along with our esteemed Mr. Weeks. So what say you, gentlemen?
So I just want to kick it off really quick. They're going to be doing most of the talking, but we were able to take a couple of votes and to make a couple of decisions to present to the board and to the town to try to figure out how we can kind of move the stakes forward on some of these projects a little bit. So Don's going to be speaking on behalf of the committee, and Tony is going to be doing what he does, which is always work magic and articulate things in a very, very helpful way. So this is really just an informational thing, and we're actually hoping that if it warrants it, to make some decisions here so we can move some projects along.
Okay, great. I'm excited.
So,
I like that.
Tony Fridays, town plan. So I've been working with the High Street Park Committee on getting the plans finalized, and so there is a design that's been completed. As part of the work, this will have to go before the planning board. So the planning board, I spoke to them regarding the park. One of the questions of the board is, well, if we have other projects, we require peer review this as a town project. If we're going to require it from residents, then we should also require it from our own projects. That being said, the park committee asked me to reach out to a few engineering companies to get some estimates so they could do a peer review of the project. And what they would do is they would just look at the project and make recommendations. It's not a change in design. It's just if there's anything that they see that should be adjusted. Make sure that the engineer that did the design work is meeting all the local and state regulations. So I did get three estimates from three different companies: Allen & Majors, PMP, and Verdantis. So the park, there was an earmark given to Hanson. It was $170,000 to be broken up amongst three projects, one of them being the park. So we have earmarked money, or I say the committee has earmarked money to use on this project. So therefore, that money is what will be used to pay the peer reviewer.
How much did they, I know it was amongst various little stakeholders, I
Yeah.
just don't remember.
So, it was a total of 170 for the earmark. So if you happen to split it three ways, it comes out to about just over 56,000 for
Okay.
each project. If you split it three ways.
Yeah.
So, to get that money, we have to provide an estimate, a proposal to get the earmark funding. The committee itself doesn't have, let's say, the means to pay invoices and so forth. So the select board would be sort of the authority to say, okay, go ahead. So tonight it's an informational. I'll want to show you the park itself so you kind of get an idea of what you're voting on, and then just basically have the select board say, okay, look, yep, go with the lowest bidder. Give permission to the town administrator as the representative for Hanson to move things forward. So, that being said, start there. The park itself is up here on the screen, and it took a while, but they finally finished it up. Give you some context. So, High Street, these are two existing buildings owned by the town. The rear one is the food pantry. The one out front is the vacant building, and down in here is the Bonnie House.
Mm-hmm.
So out in here, there's labeled what's called a historic site, because the idea is to have that building down on Main Street brought up here at some point and create sort of, let's say, a living museum, if you will. So what they've designed is a main entrance into the park, a roundabout, which then directs people to parking lot down in this area, parking lot here,
You have an area here with the basketball court and children's play area.
Now, to try to, figure, where is the parking lot, the existing parking lot in Pierce?
The existing parking lot on Pierce.
Oh, wow, okay. Totally was off on where I thought everything was, okay. All right, yeah.
So this is the other entrance, which was originally it's going to be an emergency access, which was the original entrance, the main entrance to the hospital. We show here a dog park and then a open lawn area, which is the field as it is now, a future pavilion where you could have acoustic type concerts, walking trails, a area that we're saving some trees, calling it selectively cleared. So that in general is the park. Now this design is going to go before the planning board. It's a public hearing. Abutters will be notified. This will be advertised in the paper and obviously on the webpage and so forth. So the public can attend the planning board meeting. That'll probably happen at sometime at the end of October. So stay tuned. Look for the agenda. And so the public can come in and take a look. We'll have this up on the screen. So now that being said, as part of this, there's drainage.
I'm sorry, can I just,
Sure.
so I know when you guys have had a walkthrough kind of thing, that some of the folks that are down in here had expressed concerns about, losing privacy because of the parking. It looks like you've got plantings and what have you there. Are we gonna try to mitigate the impact as much as we can?
Yeah, and that'll all be discussed. So yeah, there's plantings here, and we had spoke with some folks that had some concerns. We talked about, potentially not only just natural, but maybe a fence along that line between the park and themselves. And again, this is what's being proposed. It doesn't mean that this is all gonna get built at one time because of the cost. This could be phases. So this could be a project that goes over a period of years.
Yep, right, yeah. And what about that old entrance? Are we gonna do anything with it?
So this old entrance here is gonna be an emergency access.
It's just gonna be emergency.
Can I ask a question about the other entrance that's off of Pierce that goes through what's marked as a residential lot? Could that lot be sold off
Yes.
as a means of fundraising, so to speak, or, putting some money back in the coffers?
That lot's been set aside for the park itself, to use the monies from the sale of that.
Right.
For them to.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you were going to say.
In other words, great idea.
Yeah,
We didn't want to make it known.
I know.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, we had looked at that as
Yeah.
So the emergency entrance, you have the gate right off the road. I think the current thing is back a little ways, the current, the concrete blocks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Allowing the people who use to access their backyard through that road. I'm not sure if that's been taken into consideration.
Well, it'll stay there as an emergency access. There'll be a gate there.
Will they be able to open it to get to their backyard? I guess or could it be moved back?
Well,
Just probably move the gate back.
That's what I'm thinking, move the gate back.
With the
so
gate
that
back,
people-
so they could, those people use that back entrance?
I think I can't picture what that little building is right on the lot line, but I think it's like a garage or something.
Well, here's the thing. We're sort of getting ahead of ourselves with
Okay.
talking about this. This is all stuff that we'll be talking at the planning board hearing. So I invite any members of the select board to come to
Just
speak.
so you know, we're talking tonight about just this spot right here.
So
Okay.
you're trying to focus
That's
on
what,
this.
That's all we're doing.
Forget about the rest of
We
it.
want to talk about the whole
Forget
thing.
about it.
I know.
So.
We want to get into the details.
I wanted to give you an idea. I'm saying, hey, here's these peer review, and you go, well, what's it for? So now you can see, well, here's what it's for.
Okay, that is helpful to contextually see, there's a bigger plan, but this is the discrete piece that you want us to look at tonight.
With the parking area in front of it.
Yes, so the
Yeah.
peer review, the three companies, the lowest bid came in at $33,950
For,
for a peer review.
okay,
The second was $4,000, and the third was over $12,000. So, basically, we'd like to go with whatever the park committee was saying, we're gonna go with the lowest person, because they actually which was Allen and Majors, because they had a very good detailed estimate. With the next one up, it was like hourly up to 4,000.
Throw a number out there.
Yeah, so, what we'd be looking from the select board is to say, okay, go with the peer review, give Lisa the authority to sign on the contract and move that forward. Second part, the committee had asked me to look into some costs regarding getting equipment for that playground. So I reached out to our Parks and Fields folks, who gave me some contacts, and they came up with some playground estimates. Now, this is not needing any kind of vote because we're not even close to that. But to get an idea, to kit out the playground, we had one come in at $125,250. We had a second with various options, and I can get this information to the select board so they can look at it. So you're looking at 50,000, and this is would be the area as what they call for. This is the school children's.
Thanks.
Then they had a second option which came in at 80,000, and then they had the area which would be for the smaller children, which comes in at 39,000.
So you're looking at probably about 150 or so thousand.
And then the last
Yeah.
The last one's,
the last company came in. Their estimate was very detailed. They break it down, cost, discount, total, tell you all the equipment that's going to go in there. And then they came in, and they also provide costs for the basketball court.
Basketball court, yeah.
Yeah.
So they were totaling at 117,410. And then with you have installation costs of an additional 51,000. One thing they also did do is they took the plan itself and,
Wow.
and they lay out
Wow.
where the equipment's going to go and the basketball court.
so we're leaning more towards option 3.
I can see why.
The first two options were a lot less detailed. They didn't have as much material going in there, and they didn't include the cost of the basketball courts. So, yeah.
Yeah, so here's, how they break it down with where the equipment, how it lays out. This is for the older, would be considered the older children, and the basketball court. And then they go into, some 3D renderings of what it would look like. The equipment.
And what type, I assume that we're going with the lowest possible maintenance we can possibly.
Yes, I mean, this is what they've come up with now. As you get closer, there will be adjustments that'll be made, obviously based on budgetary constraints,
And what's the thought process on funding, community preservation? Because this would be eligible for community preservation.
It would, and there's also a PARC or park grant, which gets up to, I believe it's $500,000.
Yes, it is.
If you get the grant.
But there's one other thing I'd like to put in there. We have to be ADA compliant.
Yes.
And what I'd like to see is the committee would, when we get the layouts like this, is to bring it before the ADA compliant head of the state ADA will come down and look at it.
That's a great idea. Get a sanity check on,
There's different, like rugs that they use now, you can't use wood chips.
Yep.
And all of that.
Yeah.
It has to be on the surface, and so the equipment has to be all open to it. You can't put the handicap in one area and then the regular kids in another area. It has to be blended somehow, so.
Yep.
There's a lot.
So it's got to be inclusive.
Right.
And, okay, I mean, obviously, we would want that anyway, but, I think it's a great idea to have somebody just, do a sanity check that this would comply with ADA, before we jump right into it. And-
Right, and
Yeah.
again, this is still a ways down the road, but it gives an idea, because as this moves forward, yes, we're gonna have to establish what all the different costs are. What's the playground gonna cost, which we, so some of these estimates will probably get adjusted depending on the company, and again, based on the budget. And we have to look at, okay, we'll have to break down all the costs. There's a retaining wall, the design of the retaining wall, the construction of the retaining wall, the pavement, sidewalks, et cetera. That's all gonna have to be figured out. We're not there yet. I think the park is probably a lot closer than they were before I arrived.
Yes.
So,
Now, will that park grant cover parking for,
as far as paving,
yeah,
I believe it does. I've delved into it a couple of times, but I can't remember the exact language.
because that's where CPC draws a bright line.
Yeah.
Is the no parking stuff. And there's been multiple court cases in the state over that. So,
In order for us to even qualify though, we have to have a certain number of parking spots to be able to.
to get the park thing,
Yeah, that's why the parking has been such a big deal, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out where to place it all, because you have to have a certain number to.
so that's where I think that's where the sticky wicket's gonna be, is getting the funding for the parking.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can do it, I'm sure we can do it. And I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme of thing, that the rest of it, the remainder can all be paid with community preservation funds, and it's a good use of it.
I think where we are now though, before we even consider a funding source, is just getting that peer reviewed, getting it put before.
So do you just want to vote from us that we are empowering you guys to work with Lisa to get a peer review? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay, I will entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Is there another vote you're looking for, something specific?
No?
Okay, I'm not saying cease and don't talk anymore, I just wanted to make
No,
sure we're
that-
giving you what you need.
That's exactly
you know.
what we needed for
Yeah.
tonight, that's why it was
Yeah.
important, and we needed to let you know what the vision was. A lot of the stuff that's gonna fund the details, we still have to come up with. Tony and Lisa have done such a great job in supporting the High Street Park Committee. So a lot of the progress we've been making is a direct result of them being involved and helping.
Well,
us
I
out.
have to say kudos to you guys, though, because a lot of you guys, particularly you two guys, have hung in there against all odds, and at times when it seemed like it was going to be a bit difficult to move forward. And so I say kudos to you guys, too. Well done.
Thank you.
It's nice to have, like even a vision of what we can do and an idea of like, oh, we're so close, and, so it's exciting. And thank you, Ms. Green and Mr. DeFrayis for helping, move the vision forward. It's hard when you're a well-intentioned committee, but that isn't necessarily your area of expertise and you've got day jobs. It's hard to,
Well, this is why I'm so passionate about trying to make sure that the positions that we need to get funded are funded, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, in particular. But I do want to say, just because I know people are passionate about High Street Park and just High Street in general, all the abutters. Again, this is going to be something that I don't want people to get scared from, is this strip right here. Even when we go before the planning board, even the public hearing and all that stuff, it doesn't mean that we can't make changes. It just means the plan's accepted. So I want to be very, very clear that all the abutters, all the public hearings, all the things that we've done, we're not putting this out there as a means of ignoring what everybody's been telling us. But we have to move this project forward. We can still make changes when we need to, and as the time comes. But we are so far away from doing anything related to funding any of this or doing clear cutting and all that. I just don't want to put the cart before the horse and start, changing things
Last
around.
question, what are those two crescents on that parking area? What are
Right.
those? Yeah.
I think they're basically part of the landscape.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and so this is up on the planning board's webpage. This
It
one.
looks like a good little buffer between the parking, I'm spatially challenged, but it looks like a pretty good little buffer between the parking spot and, and particularly where the houses are on those lots, where they're more towards the front of the lot. And I think, Mr. Weeks, obviously, to the extent we can be responsive to people's concerns and address them, we will. And I think you guys have already demonstrated that. You've listened, you've been really, trying to get feedback and operate, accordingly. So, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Just
so,
the idea of moving forward.
so it sounds like we've got the money for the peer review, that's great. Is there anything else that we're missing? I think that's pretty much it.
To answer your question, it'll probably be dawn to dusk, you know, at the dusk.
Right.
That's up to you people.
Yep.
You know? if you-
Yeah, I don't see us having a nightclub operating at all hours of the night up there. I don't think that's, would be a compatible use, right? And I also think you're inviting trouble if you start doing things. I mean, obviously, there'll be exceptions and there might be some nighttime events, but again, I wouldn't imagine they'd go much past 10 o'clock or so, if, I'm just thinking of Matt Dyer, who always wanted to have that beer garden up there or something.
Yeah, no, I think,
Yeah.
honestly, I think the area
Beer
itself
garden.
is, it's incredibly, malleable. We can adapt to a whole host of different things. It's a great plot of land. It's far back enough that it can be, that you can do whatever you need to do, in mitigating the amount of traffic that would go up on High Street. I think it's a destination place, the way that's getting laid out right now. But I do think it was laid out strategically well, that it does put minimal issue on a butters. But again, I'm not in a butter, so I can't speak for them. I just know what they said. And we're doing our best to change and adapt, to meet the needs of everybody, to your point. And I think we've hit the mark here. So, but again, we're not talking anything, I can't reiterate this enough. We're not talking about anything over here right now. We're just talking about this little spot right here. No roads are going in yet, no anything. So,
Okay.
that's
Well,
where
this
we're
is
at.
awesome. Great work, everybody. I love it.
So, like I said, this will be going before the planning board, more than likely the end of October, so, and the residents just, keep track of, planning board's webpage, the agendas will be posted, and I will, get in touch with the town administrator's office and put it out there on social media.
You may want to think about having a meeting down here, just in case you do.
We usually do hold our meetings
Yeah.
here, so it's, it'll be, we'll say it's officially, if you will. It is up on the webpage, this particular plan is up on the webpage.
The reason we have to, the planning board has to review it and make sure it's done to the rules of the town, because we can't, if we don't do it the same, they'll come back and say, well, you.
Right, you can't have different setbacks than you require other people and, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the thickness of the pavement and
Yep,
so on and
yep.
so forth.
Yep, we have to hold ourselves to the same standards, so that makes sense. All right, well, yay.
Did you give it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we already did it. We're all set.
Yep, we just moved right past that, yep. All right, thank you, guys, we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Good to see you both.
Mr. Freya, you have someone who can help you with ADA.
Yeah, actually, you know who has the best playground right now is Middleborough. They just put it in behind the fire station and police station by the pool in the field. She can do everything. My daughter's 4, she has cerebral palsy, so she's paralyzed on the right side. But she can go up to the biggest slide, go down that. They even have 2 different zip lines, one with the handicap sit-in, one with the regular zip line. The only thing she can't do is a climbing mesh net, but everything else she can.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
It's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
Is there any way of getting a layout like that?
I don't know, yeah, I mean, I can inquire with the town and just ask who they used for it, because even the turf that you can walk on in there is perfect.
Well, because
She doesn't fall.
we could definitely take a look at it. I mean, the one thing with these companies is this is what they do, that's all they do.
Yeah.
So they're up on the current regulations and they know the ADA compatibility.
Yeah. Just like Halifax is newer, that one, she can't even do the big one at all. She can only do a few little things.
What a big difference that makes.
Bridgewater is-
Yeah.
I go everywhere, and by far, that one's the best one so far. that I've
There's,
come
there's
across.
material that can be now, that wasn't available in the past. There can be cutouts where it gets worn on the end of a slide, say, or
Yeah.
swing sets and stuff like that, that can be cut out and just patched,
Yeah.
which is good. In years past, you had to rip the whole thing out, like a baseball field or
Yeah.
football.
Yeah, one of the things that we are actively trying to do is trying to create an all-inclusive park. That's the goal. So,
And this one is totally by far
y-
it.
So that, I mean, any leads we can get in terms of whether or not it's the installers or just what,
I'll
what,
even tell you what she can and cannot do from even one staffer around.
Yeah.
Like East Bridgewater, with very few, like those two tunnels, can't do those.
Yeah.
She can't crawl.
no, I think it makes sense. It's just, even some of these places that we have spoken with, they might have the equipment. We just don't know to ask for it. So even if you can give us something that's like a picture or something, next time you go there, we can send it off to them and see if they have it.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
All right, I
Yeah.
do every weekend.
Thanks.
Who knows, it could be one of the companies you guys are talking.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
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 Maybe there could be some way in the future, if you guys could think about it, is to have some sort of local funding to come up with some money for the park.
I definitely think that, I know in the past, historically, the one over near McQuon was like a whole grassroots fundraising thing. I'm sure we can, I don't think you're gonna need money per se for the park itself. But the parking you're gonna need money for, so I think we'll have to do some kind of fundraising, either town meeting appropriation or a separate fundraising group. And I think people, based on what I've seen on Facebook, people are very bullish about having a good, all-inclusive, park for people, and, I mean, then I guess we'll see whether people will put their money where their mouth is. And, you know me, I'm always down for a good fundraiser, Mr. Ellis. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I am.
Can write your name down. Anybody else say yes?
All right.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so next up, we've got library update. Welcome, Ms. Stolfer, and, I don't know, Ms. Cafard, are you joining her, or? This is where we ask you, where were you on the night of the 5th?
Yeah.
January 5th, where were you? Okay, well, thanks for coming, and, would love to hear what's going on at the library.
So, I have some mixed news to share. So I'll start with the bad and end with the good. So staffing wise, we are currently down 2 people. I believe, at a recent meeting, you accepted the resignation of Percy Child,
Yes.
who changed careers and has moved on to a new position. We have another staff member who is out on sick leave, and we have, I just heard earlier yesterday that another staff member is moving on to a new position as well. So I will be losing both of my only 2 full-time employees. Until I fill the positions, I will be the only full-time staff member of the library. Budget cuts and general town financial uncertainty definitely played a role in them leaving. I wasn't the only factors, but I did hear from them that it was they did take that into consideration. So we're going to try to continue as best we can, continue as many services as we can until we can get the positions filled. I'm hoping to do that as quickly as possible. But we just ask for people's patience during this time as we try to get back on our feet. So.
I'm sorry, so when do you think you'll be posting, and what's your expectation?
So the Percy Child's position has been posted already. I've gotten applications. The deadline's October 7th. The other staff member, her last day is going to be October 18th. So I was going to talk to Lisa actually soon about, obviously that's 4 weeks from now. So she is going to be doing what she can to try to, because she does so much. She's my assistant director and adult services librarian. So she's going to be, doing the best she can to kind of make things, keep continuity, do some kind of cheat sheets for things that she handles so that other staff can take over. Yeah, so we'll be trying to post that as soon as we can. I'll talk to Lisa about the timeline there, so.
Okay.
This, with the shortage of staff, can also affect the hours we're open. Because if we don't have staff to cover, we have to close.
Yeah, we've already had to do some closures because we don't, with the cuts, we don't have the money for, like usually I budget for coverage when people are out to have somebody else come in, but we haven't been able to use that, so there's been some instances of where we just didn't have enough staff to open, so unfortunately. And we have, posted that, people just, if you're uncertain to call ahead, like make sure that we're open just because, it's unexpected sometimes, we don't know. I also received some other bad news earlier today that we will not be able to receive grant funds for our construction grant if the town isn't in compliance with the MBTA law. We were uncertain as to if that was going to affect our grant or not, but we have heard news that it will. So the state is pushing, originally they were going to announce awards in October, but because the compliance deadline is at the end of this year, they're pushing back their award notices till January. So basically, they're going to wait to see who is in compliance, and then if you're not, you won't be able to receive grant funds if they were going to award you a grant. So, you know, it seems pretty certain that we are not going to be able to move forward with that project. It's really devastating news for us.
It was very devastating. This library is the second education resource for the town. People really depend on us. Under Karen, Julia, and Percy, the programs have been phenomenal. People come from all over. It's just not the town of Hanson. And I meet people everywhere I go, and they always come up and say it's the friendliest library around, the most helpful. And, you know, we don't want to cut back programs, but if you don't have the staff, then, I mean, what are we to do? It's devastating.
How much money, what are we talking about that is directly you would lose, as a
So-
result of not being an MBTA community?
Well, so we've already spent about $77,000. Some of it was old grant funds from the state, some was on government earmark, and then we used about $10,000 in trust funds, library trust funds, to submit the application. And then the first part of the grant is up to $100,000 for planning and design, and then there'll be the second phase, assuming we move through all that, to construction, which then is about 50% in the millions of dollars to build a new library. So
It'd be probably
Yeah.
around 12 million from the state that we lose.
So we're definitely, we're losing millions of dollars potentially by not moving forward with it, being able to move forward with it.
And I'm hoping, Lisa, that we're keeping a tally of how much money we're just lighting on fire by not being part of the MBTA, because I am very much interested in that number.
12 million there, 2.4 million in the one stop that we know that we may not be eligible for any longer.
Yeah, I would just like to keep a running list, so going into.
She has been, and there was a list at our town meeting, when it was presented,
Yeah.
of the money that we thought we were gonna lose. And it's real money, and I know people are saying, oh, it's not that much money. A lot of the purchases that we've made of conservation properties have been specifically, with money that will no longer be available to us. And this is another example, so.
So for me, it's not about just the dollar figures, it's quality of life. And that, we're gutting our quality of life. We're talking about services, we're talking about all this stuff. That's why I'm saying, we're just talking words until we actually start doing actions. And this is a prime example of this. So I'm glad you let off with it, because I'm not gonna stop beating this drum that, we're just lighting money on fire and it's
There's
affecting.
also quality
people's
of
lives.
life things to take into consideration if the town is totally changed by an influx of people that we
Hey.
can't afford to take care of in the first place. So
Totally
there's
dis-
both sides of this that we have to consider.
I think 100% true. Shutting down the library, if there's not a
Oh,
clear
shutting down the
indication.
library is
'cause
ridiculous.
and that's where we're at. So I
I know.
appreciate that, and I appreciate you keeping a tally going, because I'm gonna be interested in that later on.
Yeah, there's so many programs for this young children, that the mothers or fathers come
Yeah.
during the day, and the seniors. We have a lot of things for seniors, and for them, not only do they go to the senior center, but a lot of them come to us on the weekend.
Yep.
It's another social outlet. They might see their friends or whatever. And a lot of the seniors are a family of one now. because
Exactly.
The other has passed
They're
on.
isolated, the
Right.
library might be the only place where they have Wi-Fi or get the internet, get
Exactly.
access to talk to anybody. I think that it is grossly misunderstood how important and integral a functioning library is in any single town. So,
That's why I'm hoping that someday this can be revisited.
Well,
I really,
I don't know that we're gonna be revisiting that. It's the planning board's, purview to revisit. And at their last meeting, nobody wanted to make the motion. And so they need to revisit it and then send it to the select board, and then we would take it under advisement. We've gotten a pretty strong feedback from citizens, so I don't believe that it will be taken up again. I believe probably the next that we will hear is being sued by the state. We're expecting that. We've put it into our budget to have a legal line item, to have to defend ourselves, because That's what the state has said they're going to do, so,
But we really don't have a defense either. I mean, because,
well, to defend ourselves, to say
Yes,
we're not
yeah.
complying and, you know,
Right.
so. Our defense is that the citizens voted and they didn't want to do it. So anyway, but, as far as the hours, I think you heard Mr. Kincher say, it was never our intention to cut hours from the library staff. That ended up happening as a result of the union negotiations, where they decided everybody should take a haircut of 1 hour instead of the strategic departments that had been, we thought had been sort of like, you know, indicated that we were gonna have those hours cut. So I'm sorry that there was that collateral damage. That was nothing we could have predicted. That was purely as a result of the union. It is back on the, town meeting warrant, to restore those hours, and the voters will decide at the next town meeting whether, they want to restore those hours. So that would be the administrative union hours, and the highway hours, which would be transfer station hours. So, it's up to the will of the voters, so.
So on to some good news. So we recently wrapped up a very successful summer reading program. Between kickoff on June 14th and our finale on August 16th, we held 112 programs and we had about 2,500 participants.
That's
So we're
impressive.
very pleased with
Yeah.
those numbers. We had really great feedback this year because we tried a new prize system, so kids can track their reading, and they're eligible for prizes. And in the past, we've done things like toys and electronic equipment or gift cards. And this year we tried to do prizes that provide experiences. So we offered things like an ice cream sundae party for their friends, a movie night at the library nail salon, librarian for the day. We did have one child choose the latter, and we gave him some tasks to perform. So he set up a book display. He put stickers on the books.
He was a librarian for the day? I love it.
Checked out
I
books with
absolutely love it.
siblings, and he was just so thrilled, and his mother said he was beaming all day. He just loved it. So we feel that these are definitely more meaningful, memorable, prizes, and so we're definitely planning to continue that going forward. We're moving now into fall, obviously, so we have a lot of great programs listed on our calendar. That's all online. In particular, we have in October, we're kicking off our 9th annual art show, and that's been growing each year. We keep getting more and more submissions. It's for all ages. People can submit artwork anytime during October, and then we have 2 weeks of community judging. And then we have our award ceremony at our open house. And that's coming up on Saturday, November 16th. It's in its 19th year. It's one of the biggest events that we have each year. It's sponsored by our foundation. And this year we have a visit from the character Bluey. That's so popular now. And then, this may sound strange to adults, but we're bringing back something called the Poop Museum. So Susie McGuire, she's a presenter. She does a STEM program about poop. And she came in April vacation for part 1 of her presentation, and the kids just absolutely loved it. We got comments from parents saying that, she did a great job engaging the kids, making them like science learning. So we've invited her back for part 2 of her presentation, so we're looking forward to that. And then I'll just end with a quick update, some of our other services. So we have 2 literacy programs. Those are still growing strong. We have 1,000 books before kindergarten, and that's for babies and toddlers. And then we have an adoptive reading buddy program for beginning readers. And we're still doing homebound delivery. So if any seniors or, somebody who's had surgery maybe, if you're temporarily or permanently disabled, we will bring items to your house, deliver them to you. We have, obviously, our online services available 24/7, even for clothes. We have the ebooks and audiobooks, streaming music and movies. We do our best to educate residents about what we offer, but a lot of people don't know what we have, so we do invite you to either stop in or go online. All of it's on our website. So, like I said, a lot of people don't realize how great a resource we are, but we have so much.
Oh my God, you've had so many great classes. You had that what was it, silk scarf painting?
Yeah.
That looked amazing.
Yeah.
And a couple of, I'm always like, geez, I've got to get more time in my day so that I can go to some of these things, Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say kudos, because I've been in the community-based mental health field for 20 years now, and I cannot tell you how much we rely on the library, how many people we've sent, because I worked on the South Shore for 15 of those 20 years. how many times people have used those libraries as a resource to just get people out, to get them doing crafts, as a secondary means of education, things like that. So it breaks my heart to hear that there might be a reduction in some of that stuff. Hopefully, we're able to turn it around. We'll see how it goes. But it stinks to put you in that space, because we should be expanding it, because I really do think, because of confidentiality and trying to make sure people have a quiet space and whatever, people don't actually see how much of a behavioral resource a library is, in way more ways.
Schoolers that come
Yeah.
to, we do a lot of programs for them. We actually do have a new resource educate station, which has like learning lesson plans, for, great for homeschoolers and teachers and
Yeah,
so.
yeah, you're a lifeline for a lot of people, so.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think, it's so, economical, really for people, because, some of those classes, if you go, privately to go do them, they're crazy, the price of them.
Well, even with times being tough, can you, you can rent, like actual items and things
Yes.
like that too, right? Like you can,
Library of things.
yeah, you see a drill, I've seen people that have done that,
Yeah.
because they literally don't have the means.
Yeah.
So they rely on the food pantry, and then they rely on being able to rent things from the library, just to be able to meet a very basic quality of life. So it's like so important that we support you guys.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it,
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, guys. We appreciate it. All right, and Ms. Green, that brings us to annual licensing fees discussion.
Okay. So through Ms. McDowell, our office looked at what we are currently charging for licensing fees. She did a survey of what other towns were charging for licensing fees, which is on the second page of the handout that you have. You said magnifying glass. But anyway, seriously, what she did was she put some recommendations together for increasing the fees. I don't believe the town has looked at this increasing fees. What's this thing? Yes. I don't believe the town's looked at increasing the fees, 10 years maybe?
Not since I've been
I
on the
can't
board.
remember I
Yep.
mean, we've tried to look to see when maybe the last time.
No,
we looked at
we
it.
haven't even discussed it since I've been on the board.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
With the times changing, we need to come up with other revenue sources. So increasing the fees, and these are not large increases, basically.
No, but it all adds up.
It absolutely adds up. So what we have is increase the class 2 license, it's $100, correct, to $50, from $100 to $50. $150. I'm sorry, $100 to $150. Live entertainment from $50 to $75. The lodging increase, again, $50 to $75. One-day liquor licenses, we're suggesting increasing that to $50 for non-Camp Kawani requests.
Who would be requesting it for non,
Well, we've had a couple.
well, we just had the one, the one, but that, who else
Well,
ever,
the county, we have events there. I mean, we asked for a liquor license.
at Camp Kawani?
Yeah, when we.
Yeah, but she's saying non-Camp Kawani. I'm saying where do people have events?
Library does.
Oh, the library, okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Non-Camp Kawani. And then, so, another way for generating revenue is late fees. We did experience last licensing, season, people who came in weeks after licensing was due, and even somebody that came in the day literally the day before the board was gonna meet. So charging a late fee, I think, will, motivate people.
What are you suggesting for a late fee?
Do we have anything for late fee?
There's nothing, like some towns were actually doubling the cost of the license for a late fee. Some were charging daily fees, like $5 to $10 a day.
Yeah, but all of that said, then the burden is on you to be figuring out how many days and yada, yada. I'd just as soon be like a flat late fee
I want to say like $50.
That's what I was kind of thinking. I don't know, what do you
Yeah.
guys think, $50?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not by
It's not
day, just
super
do it.
punitive, but it's just a little,
Yeah.
like, come on, you can do this
No,
on time.
Right.
Smarten up.
It's enough to get people motivated because, we send letters.
And it'll be per license.
Yes.
So if you have 3 licenses.
What do you think, $50?
Yeah, I think whatever a flat rate is, I think those daily fees, if someone decides not to pay, you'll spend more money litigating it
Exactly.
or waiving it, and then it makes it a moot
Yes.
point anyways. So,
Yes.
something manageable, but like sends a message, I guess makes sense.
Okay, so are you looking for us to make a motion?
Well, we also wanted to talk about the alcohol.
With the alcohol as well.
There was some,
They have it down here.
I didn't know how high to go, so I did 15% and 20%.
I think, I'd feel comfortable with 15 initially. I wouldn't want to, since we haven't increased it for so long, I
I
would
just
want,
wanted to give you an
I
idea of what
actually
they
think
look
you should
like.
do the 20%.
you do?
Yep. I do.
What's your thought process?
I don't like the $5. I think the $1,800 from $1,500 is, that's at $300. I mean, I just don't think it needs to be lower than that.
Okay. What do
We
you think?
haven't increased it in a long time.
I just tried to look at it with this,
Oh,
and it gave me a
Jesus.
headache, so.
Well, no, that part.
No,
The
no,
big
I know,
part
but,
right here.
yeah, no, I guess my point is, these aren't just arbitrary percentages you're throwing out, right? Like, these are compared, I was trying to
No,
figure out
it's a
what it's in
comparison.
comparison to
It's
this,
in-
but I
it's in
couldn't see it.
comparison.
So I'm just trying to figure out where
Did
it
it
came
bring us
from,
up
so.
These numbers do not exceed anybody else.
I figured that was the case, I'd be naive to just not ask,
Not
it,
at
so,
all.
yeah, so thank you.
Puts us right in the middle of all of
Okay,
the road.
so what do you think? Do you think the 20% or 15%?
It doesn't matter.
Neutral?
It doesn't matter.
All right, so I will entertain a motion to increase the fees, based on the recommendation, Class 2 increase to 150, live entertainment increase to 75, lodging increase to 75, one-day liquor license for non-Camp Kawani requests to $50, late fees of $50 per, license. And we didn't talk about
Yeah,
$25
what's an
annual
annual
inspection fee. What's that?
So our, basically our building inspector and fire go out and inspect all the businesses on a annual basis, so we should be charging for that as well. I don't know, I know our health, they charge a separate fee for
Yes.
the food inspections. But for inspections as far as building and fire, I think that there should be a fee, an annual fee for that inspection.
And are other towns doing $25? Is that where you came up with that, or?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so annual inspection for fire and building of $25. And then for alcohol package, Ian feels strongly about the 20%. I'm kind of neutral, and Joe is too, so, we could go with the 20%, which is $1,800 for all alcohol package. All alcohol restaurant is $1,440, club license is $1,200, club nonprofit is $300, wine and malt package is $840, and wine and malt restaurant is $840. So I will entertain a motion to increase the fees to those amounts.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All right, good work, Ms. McDowell. Thank you for being so thorough and, reaching out to everybody and getting that information. Okay, then that brings us to the September 17th, minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
No, my fault.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And then, one-day liquor license, you might say, are we going in the Wayback
That
Machine?
is a historical.
Yes, we are.
issue here.
Exactly. It's a historical event that is historical. So as you know, the Historical, Society ended up having to reschedule for the 22nd. The liquor license we had approved last week was for the 21st. So we now need to sort of retroactively approve the one-day liquor license for 9/22 for the Hanson Historical Society, and then also prospectively for 11/23/24 for Kalen Gallego or Gallego. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Great. Any wild and crazy updates?
Nope.
Committee updates? I just have one. Not really an update, it's more of a plug. This Saturday is is Hanson Day, which is a joint effort by the Hanson Business Network and the Economic Development Committee. We've got an amazing number of, small businesses, representing the Hanson Business Network that are going to be participating, and I'm very excited. Tech Hi-Fi, we've got JC Fast Cleaners, just all kinds of people. If I'm forgetting your business, it's not intentional. Hanson VCA, we've got also people who are selling items. We have Bit of Earth Soap, who we may or may not know very well.
Maybe.
And then, we've got, other folks, Hooked and Jarred, who is a person who does crocheting and, does, canned goods, various other little, artisans, so we've got that. And then we have a bunch of profits, so we've got the Hanson Food Pantry, Hanson, Community Christmas, Plymouth County Sheriff, of course, Fire, Police, Highway, no event would be complete without those guys. We even have the Conservation Commission and the Board of Health, who are both gonna be there. And we've got the South Shore Voc Tech, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H Club. I mean, the list could go on and on. We have 50 different, exhibitors, if you will. We've got food, we've got a jumpy, because that's what it's all about, with the little guys, you gotta have the moonwalk.
Generator.
We may need the generator.
Make up your mind.
Well, I have to
My
do a
husband got it
walk.
ready
I have to do a perimeter walk. I'll let you know. Like I said, Heidi's Hollow, I mean, come on. So we've got a lot of great stuff, and the best part of it is, it's all free. And it's all the best parts of Hanson, all kinds of sunshiny little volunteers that are there to tell you about the organization, Hanson football, all kinds of good stuff. So that is 11 to 2, and it is at Indian Head School, and it is rain or shine. So regardless of whether it's an abysmal outlook or it's going to look amazing on Saturday, you can plan on being there, because we're just going to pull it in if it's bad weather. So that's all I've got for the Economic Development Committee. Anything else?
If I may, Madam Chair, the Whitman Hanson Regional School
Oh,
Agreement
yes,
Committee,
yes.
is once again, starting up meetings. We will be meeting on Wednesday, October 23rd at 4:30.
Yes, I did note that. And did anybody from the board want to volunteer to be on that Whitman Hanson Regional Agreement Committee?
I want to, but I can't.
It's a Wednesday. They almost were able to have it on a Monday night.
That's bad too.
So,
Thursday
was
would
that
be
something you
better.
felt the burning desire to do? No, okay. Violent reaction to? No, okay. All right, well, I will plan on being at the first meeting. I'm not saying I'm going to be our designee, but somebody needs to show up, so I will be there with you. And then we will take it under advisement, and see where it goes. So speaking of taking it under advisement, Ms. Green, Town Administrator Report.
Okay, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. So we are still looking for applicants for the Assistant Assessor position. Resumes are being accepted until October 17th, 2024. We have this on Indeed, it's on MMA, it is on the Mass Assessors page. Anyone interested can reach out to my office, Town Administrator, for more information. The office, we have been responding, I just don't know if it's a full moon or we've been getting multiple records requests. So we've been working on responding to those. We actually have someone that wants printouts of 865 emails. So we will be working on that. And I'm working to collect asset inventory of the town, from town departments for the capital improvement plan, which is in the works with the Collins Center. And I'm happy to report that the heat pump installation for Town Hall, we've got 6 new high-efficiency heat pump rooftop units. Basically, the high-efficiency units, they're gonna save the town money as far as electricity usage and natural gas. It was funded by Green Communities at a price tag of $153,654. So we'll see a big difference in town hall heat this winter. We did see a great improvement for air conditioning over the summer once they were getting these up and running, so, that's complete. Happy to report that. Still working on the ARPA applications. As I upload more information, they come back looking for more information. So, the Pratt Place culvert, I have, provided the updated quote on that. We're now up to $775,000 for that, after the initial borings that the, engineers conducted and discovered they need more for some reason. So that's uploaded. Food pantry still working on. Class 5 ambulance still working on. So we, really putting a lot of due diligence into that because we need to obligate that money by September 30th. So that's been a high priority. The office, again, we've been finalizing the informational warrant. We'll get that out to print, basically tomorrow, next few days. It will be up on the website tomorrow, that people can view. The warrant is posted, it's on the website now. There are copies available in town hall, that are available to people. They can always call our office to request a copy. But it's just, you basically went over Hanson Day. I was just gonna say, a couple of community events that are coming up. Hanson Day, September 28th at the Indian Head School, and we've got the Great Pumpkin Classic Car Show at Whitman Hanson High School happening on Sunday, October 13th. So a couple of really great community events, heading our way. We're just hoping, rain or shine for the Hanson Day, but I'm hoping for good weather for the Classic Car Show, because bad weather means, nobody will come.
Yeah.
And that actually, concludes my town administrator report for today.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn to go to executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 38, section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual, enforcement discussions. Executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 38, section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting law, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Litigation discussions. I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and we will not be returning to open session.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Can we take a little?